Mic check.
Good morning. Hi. Today, first of all, I need to start with thanking our law enforcement partners. We have officers here from Chattahoochee Hills, College Park, and South Fulton. I am sure there's a lot of other things they could be doing, so I really thank them for coming out and being here today. Today, we want to be a very casual day, a day where you feel like you're at home, you're with family, and you can really ask those questions that are burning on your mind. It's not a time to be shy. If you need to talk to one of the people either from my office or the police department individually, they're all here because they want to talk with you about whatever your concerns are. So we welcome you. We're so excited that you made time today. And I want to tell you we're going to have a lot of food and lunch, so make sure you stay around for that as well. Let me ask you, when you come in, you may have seen some of these books on the table. I'd ask each family to pick up one and take it with you, and that's for a real important reason. One thing is it's going to give you information about the district attorney's office, but most importantly, there are a lot of QR codes in that book. And what those QR codes are for are to tell you how to get to resources, how to get to different office things that the office provides, and that's why we're here. We want you to be ambassadors to take back information to other people about the services that we can provide. As I said, I can't say it enough. We want to thank these officers because they're here to give it to you uncut. The things that we're seeing, the things that I as a parent am fearful of, the things that I know that you as parents may be fearful of. We want you to have the inside information so that you're able to see those things, recognize them, and make sure that we keep our children out of harm's way. I could not stand up here without thanking Pastor Pollard. I don't think he's even anywhere close, or this church. We ask different places, can we come? And they always, they want to charge, they want to do different things. Pastor Pollard has opened up his church, turned on the lights. All of this costs money at absolutely no, Pastor Warren Henry has opened up his church and let us come in here because he is such an integral part of this community. He has told me that we can come back every year and as many times as we want to be here in the community and provide you with information. What's so special about Pastor Henry, though, and why he is always such a friend of law enforcement, if you don't know, is he is a former law enforcement officer, and so he really gets things that happen in the community. He really understands the trials and tribulations that these men and women go through on a daily basis, but also he's a parent and a father, and I feel like an uncle to me to make sure that we all know what we can get. So please, today, the one thing I want to ask you is ask questions, grab me or any of these officers to the side, ask them questions, and most importantly, the information that you get, don't hold on to it. Take it back to the people you know. Pastor Henry is going to come. He's going to address you. He's going to let you know how much he is committed to being a part of our community. Not just saying he's a part of our community, but actually being a part of our community and making sure we have the things we need. And so without further ado, I want Pastor Henry to come to take the stage. This is my second church home.
God bless you. Come on, let's give it up for our DA, District Attorney. God bless you. God bless you. Well, she's right about those things that she said. I am committed to our law enforcement officers in every way possible. I became a law enforcement chaplain by force, right? When I became the chaplain for Fulton County, I simply wanted to just understand what causes them to want to pick up that uniform, put it on every morning, and leave out their house knowing they may not make it back. And it reminded me of Christ, who put on an earth suit, came down here to live his life to show us how to live in harmony and peace. So for me, when I see them, I think about Christ, saviors who save us constantly and yet put their life on the line. Well, at that time, they didn't have enough folks who wanted to get into civilian, so I actually had to go through mandate. And I want to tell you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Madam DA, after I took the last test, I cried like a baby. I sat there and I cried. It was the hardest thing, so I have the utmost respect for them. And everybody here in the kingdom has that same kind of respect for each and every one of you all. This is a home for you, a place where you can always come. You need to talk with a pastor, somebody who will keep it in their heart. This is the place to come. You ever want to come and fall on your knees and pray? This is a place always open for you. And Madam DA called me Pollard, right? That's my friend. You can call me him. There's a lot of other folks you can't call me, but you can call me him. Amen. Well, listen, I have reached out to our elected officials as well as you have, and I'm going to ask our councilwoman of District 3, Councilwoman Helen Willis, if she will come and welcome you all into her district, my councilwoman, Helen Willis.
Good morning. I want to thank Pastor Henry for all that he does, not only for law enforcement, for our community. He served several years he started the chaplain program in the city of South Fulton, and he served several years in Fulton County. He came over from Fulton County as a chaplain. And so thank you for all that you do in our community and for law enforcement. I want to thank Madam DA Willis for bringing this summit to City of South Fulton in District 3. This is the catalyst to preventing the pipeline to prison. We cannot arrest our way out of trouble. Our kids need mentorship. They need summits like this. They need to understand that public safety are not our enemies. And here in the city of South Fulton, we are the only city that have officially adopted the 21st century policing policy. And we strive every day to make sure that we are moving in a way where we are community policing. Starting with the Citizens Academy, we now have the Police Athletic Association. We partner with our district attorney in many facets throughout the year. We want to make sure that we do everything in our power to save our youth. And so I'm glad that you are here, 10 o'clock in the morning, to bring the summit here to educate not only the youth but our parents on what we need to do to prevent the pipeline to prison. Right across the street, we have Welcome All Park, and we have many programs, but the truth be told, our hardest age to reach is the age between 16 to 18. You may find them on the basketball court, but when the lights are out and when the sun goes down, where do they go from there? The parks are closed, and that's when most of our children are getting in trouble. Truancy is still a big issue in Fulton County and in South Fulton. And so I'm not gonna prolong. I could stand here and talk to you all day long, but we want to hear from our subject matter experts. We want to hear from our public safety partners. Thank you for all that you do. I am married to public safety. And I, as a spouse, pray for my husband and everyone who has a spouse in public safety to come back home to their spouses and their family every day. And sometimes, even with bulletproof vests, that does not happen. You all face a lot. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I pray for you every day. Thank you, Madam DA, for putting the criminals where they belong. And let me say this. Let's not blame everything on our DA. Let's not blame everything on our sheriff. They need money to do what they do. And we need to be advocating to our county commissioners to give them the funding they need to help us, to help them help us. Thank you.
I'll be getting out of the way in just a minute. I'd like to just let you all know also that Deacon Randolph, raise your hand. Deacon Randolph, thank you. Hear me how I call him Deacon Randolph. Thank you. You, Madam Day, your staff was just outstanding and awesome. I love and I appreciate working with you all. I want you all to know that we are airing the summit. So you can text out to anybody. They can go on the church's website, the Kingdom of God International Ministry. So we already have people signing in, so don't be discouraged by the numbers that's here. There more will be coming, but they're also watching us all around the world. So let us help others, okay? Let us pray. Big gracious God, we thank you for the many blessings that you have already demonstrated in our lives today, for the company in which we're in, for the blessings that we see, but most of all, oh God, for the knowledge that will go forth. We ask for wisdom, oh God, that it fill this place and the airwaves, because wisdom is the right use of knowledge. Help us to pour it, that they might receive it, and that they might use it. We will give you the praise and the honor for all things in Jesus' name. Let all those agree say amen.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate your time. It's been said in our community, it takes a village, and it's going to take all of us. And everyone in this room, it takes everyone outside of this room. We need to take this information back to them. I want to, first of all, thank you all for coming out. I want to thank our public safety officers, as has been said. The first panel is juvenile crime trending in our community. And we see it, excuse me, we see it trending upwards. And we want to figure out how do we change that trend. So that's why we have all of you gathered here. It's going to take all of us to figure out how it's going to happen. So first of all, I'm going to let our partners introduce themselves and tell us which organization you're with.
Good morning. I'm Corporal Walker with Fairburn Police Department.
Good morning. I'm Investigator Moore with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
Can y'all hear? Bring it closer.
Good morning. I'm Corporal Walker with Fairburn Police Department.
Good morning. I'm Investigator Moore with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning. I'm Investigator Sergeant Morgan with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
Great morning. I'm Ricardo Rucker, and I'm here with We All Value Excellent Ways.
Good morning.
Corporal Johnson with South Fulton Police Department.
Good morning. Investigator Castor from South Fulton Police Department.
Good morning. Richard Stein. I'm a captain with the Chattahoochee Hills Police Department.
Good morning. I'm Major Denard with the College Park Police Department.
The first question is, what juvenile crimes are trending in your jurisdiction? Jump in wherever you want.
I'll take that one. In our current jurisdiction was the city of College Park, and don't get it mixed up. When we say city of College Park, it flows through our surrounding cities, East Point, you got South Fulton, but our current crimes that are uptake right now with juveniles is car break-ins, car thefts, minor carjackings and things of that nature. That's definitely an uptick in that right now.
I would agree as well. Car breaking is very prevalent at this point. It's happening quite too often, and we're trying to get some kind of control over it, but it actually starts at home. We need the parents to get more involved and assist more.
Are there any specific age groups or demographics that are disproportionately involved in the criminal acts?
I would say the age group would be around probably 13 to 17, and then even then, sometimes you'll see it a little bit younger. And it's mostly peer pressure is where it starts.
What are the key challenges in addressing these crimes?
I would say wraparound services. I mean, you can deter crime as far as with doing things in the schools or in the community, but if you're not having the wraparound services to follow up, it makes it more difficult. So wraparound services, communication. I know before we leave here today, parents get to know some of these officers and lawyers and DAs and all of them, get their number and have a service. And I think one of the things I dealt with working in the schools were truancy, like a kid will leave, we don't have any no follow-up or no, I guess, guidelines. Infinite Campus, I know you guys have that on your phone. The kid is absent, it sends you an alert, but most parents don't have that app downloaded, so you don't even know where your kid is. So when the crimes are committed at these parking lots, these break-ins and all these things, they don't even know what's going on. And that's some of the issues that we run into and we try to prevent.
Do you think a curfew could help with that?
I'm just going to jump in on that real quick. The reason why I say with curfew, because accountability, and I can't blame the parents because we're working our butts off, right, parents? It's hard. And 10 o'clock, they just getting off their shift. They just getting off work, so they don't know where that kid is. So 10, 11 o'clock, you can enforce it, but how? Officers are patrolling the beat, especially I know in South Fulton, you're doing a lot of up and down running. You don't have time to really stop and intervene with these youth that you see every day. So that's why I say the wraparound services like these nonprofit organizations, having a contact, say, hey, Kay, you on duty tonight? Hey, can you swing by Old National over here by the parking lot, check on these 3 youths we got here? So that's why I say those services are more impactful.
Anyone else want to jump in?
I agree those services are impactful, but I also see a break of communication sometimes when the law enforcement message reaches the educational setting. And working in an educational setting, sometimes things are watered down. They don't want to talk about gangs and things of that nature, but they're there. Sometimes that's the birthplace. But a lot of our schools, they just don't want to put out that hard and real message. And I think we start there by actually relaying the same message, how serious it is, especially in that school setting. I think a lot of these things will change.
That's our next panel with the schools. So how prevalent is gang involvement in your jurisdiction?
We haven't seen any particular gangs. It's just mostly friends going out committing the crimes together. They're not claiming any type of gang, Bloods, Crips, or any subsets of them. They're just young kids that want to go make easy money, and they don't care who's going to be their victim. It's their money, it's their property. I'm going to go steal your car, and go break into more cars and make more money and steal more guns. So I personally haven't seen any type of gangs in Fairburn.
I would definitely say about 90% are, if they're not definitely in a gang, they're definitely copycatting or even mentioning gang affiliation. And it's like a trend. It's almost as if like the in thing now. So, that's definitely an influence for sure.
What are some of the signs that parents can look for to know or believe that their child might be involved in gang activities?
Friendships, communication, the type of friends that you see your children hanging out with, clothing for sure, because that's the big thing as far as like colors and gang affiliation. You see them constantly trying to buy a certain particular color, and just the things that they're watching on the phones and the television. Get involved, communicate with them more, go in their bedrooms, look under the bed. Get involved and communicate more and look at their phones as quite often as you can, and also the clothing that they're wearing, the times they're coming in, the conversations that they're having on the phones. Sometimes you gotta eavesdrop and listen to the conversations. And also how they are getting money. A lot of times they're purchasing things and you're wondering like, where did they get the money from to buy that? So pay attention to different things that they're doing, for sure.
Yes.
What advice would you give, and I'll ask you in college part, because I'm sure that you'll be able to answer. What advice would you give parents in reference to their children, gangs, and their social media?
Great question.
Yes. Yeah. Give Madam a mic. And we're going to take questions from the audience as well. But go ahead, Madam.
What advice would you as law enforcement officers give parents in terms of gangs and their children in social media?
Great question. When it comes to parents, we try to school parents, especially with the social media. A lot of parents are older, some of them are younger, but there's definitely a learning curve with them with this social media. So I always tell parents to, and I show them, I say, your kid may have one Instagram account, but they got like 5 other ones. And me having a teenage daughter, she taught me all the tricks I need to know. But there's always another social media account, there's always one hitting and things of that nature, so you need to stay on top of that stuff. Parents, always routinely check your kids' room out. They still under your roof, check it. Because if they're like clothes hitting out of certain colors and things of that nature, certain symbols, check it. I got a call yesterday from Villa Ricker. It was a 4th grade teacher. She says, I got a kid in my class that has like a blood smear in the form of a T. What should I do? I said, you need to report to a counselor because he's acting real shy. He's tried to hide it from her on his shirt. So pay attention to your kids' clothes, things of that nature. I guarantee you if they're in a gang, they probably got bandanas here somewhere in that house, and things of that nature, and they need to understand the seriousness of this. And sometimes your kids will start isolating themselves. Just pay attention and talk to your kids. Have real conversations with them. But stay on top of that social media because our kids now like to post everything. And they need to learn that they're not only ones that are watching this post, we are watching it too. So just stay on top of that.
Just to kind of follow up on that question, my next question is, what percentage of the altercations that either bleed into the school or into the streets kind of start around social media?
Great question again. A lot of this beefing that you see, just like last weekend, Westlake High School played Langston Hughes. After the game, by second quarter, a big brawl broke out. But when you go back and look at social media, they have been telling you we coming. So, as government officials, law enforcement officials, we got to start. It's very important to study social media. It's very important to pick on a Friday, look at the game, because they're going to tell you exactly what they're going to do. And you have to be prepared for it.
I was going to touch on it also. Great response. Music. Here in the city, music dictates where you at, what side you're on. If you listen to a particular artist, most of the time they're affiliated with a certain group. So start listening to that, especially if they're heavy on that. Start listening to those type of trends. And if you can't find it out, like you said, Google or look it up. And I like the fact that you said about the Villa Rica, that's in my area, but having that connection, having an officer you can reach out to or somebody, hey, how can you help me with this? So that's good.
And parents, I'm a parent as well, you have to get crafty. Create a fake page as well, because a lot of times I know my children, they don't want you to follow them on social media. So once they see your name, they're like, oh no, I'm blocking mom and dad. So you may have to create a fake page as well to keep up and just put a few photos to, make it attractive or interesting for them to allow you to follow them and pay attention. It's so important. And educate yourself on different social media platforms like they mentioned earlier. Very important.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm still learning the trends, and I got my kids are present, so I don't want to give them all the tea and stuff. So, but again, each emoji has a matter of fact, it's the gang website. We have we have one that everybody can go to, so you can submit questions to there, and they'll tell you. Send that emoji and say, hey, have y'all seen a lot of these emojis? Like I know the pill, the red pills, and different ones. Okay, you can speak on that. But we see it in the middle schools. I mean, you see it 11-year-olds doing it. And they follow it. So they put you on game and see what to look out for. But YouTube, when you go on YouTube, you'll see their names written with emojis, different meanings or whatever. And you can start looking at those type of things.
What are some of the emojis? Can you describe some of them? Yes.
Oh my God, I want to answer. All I ask is if you stay for the family engagement session, I promise I'll be the parent that give y'all everything that y'all want. When you answering those questions, because a lot of times, like they're saying, with the emojis, I don't want to go too much because family engagement is at 12. So I would promise if you ask them the legal, I promise I'll give you the street part. So I'll tell you about the emojis. So I just wanted to share that with them, how they put it next to their social media, yes. Like you said, with the music, but I don't want to overgo, what you're doing. So I'll share it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can sit on the next panel. I know you're gonna be doing the breakout session too, but all the information that we can get, it's gonna be helpful. So feel free to jump in with any information, intel you have.
So I live off of Camberton, County Line Road, and I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with Notting Hill, the townhomes. That's where a lot of our violence is happening, and I'm personally affected. My kids have grown. I've been in that neighborhood for 17 years. So what I've been seeing is a very, to you all saying, the car break-ins. My car has been broken in 3 times now. Last month, the day of our first youth event, I walked out to 2 of my tires being slashed. Mm-hmm. They've ripped my mailbox door off my mailbox, and it really is sad to see these things happening in our community, especially when you have parents like myself who's not working. And then these things still have to be taken care of. Like the city's taking care of my tires being slashed. I just got new tires and having to replace things of this nature, And so my biggest concern or question would be you don't know whether you should lock your doors or not because, if you lock it, they're breaking your windows, they're busting out windows, and now you're paying to replace your windows and things of that nature. If you leave it open, there's still, there's a potential that they might either take your car or not, you don't necessarily know. So, I've been actually having to call the police almost every single day to patrol my community because I can't sleep. It's causing me to go through PTSD, anxiety, there's a big concern. And I have a 5-year-old now, I can't even take her outside. I remember a month ago, where I had to call 911 because a young man was shot on the sidewalk across the street. And from my understanding, they was attempting to rob someone at the MARTA bus stop where they're wait for, public transportation. So, that's the main reason why I'm here, to really address these things, especially being youth coordinator. What can we do, even from this stance? Instead of me having to call them every single day, to do things like patrol, as we should have that on a regular consistent basis.
I'm Kim Underwood. I'm a 15-year gang investigator from City of Atlanta Police Department, and I just wanted to touch on some of those emojis that you were talking about. Handicap symbols, Crips use the handicap symbols. You see the handicap symbols on social media. The grapes, like Grape Street Crips, they'll use the symbol of grapes. Bloods use the teardrop, like a red drop. They'll use the snake emoji for like slime. The YSL, they'll use the actual snake emoji, not just YSL, other gang members use that as well, but it's a host of different emojis that you have to look for. If it don't look right, like if the S and the dollar sign and a name behind it, they're stepping for somebody, meaning that they're actually stepping for somebody that might have fallen or a gang member that has died or whatever. So just kind of look for the different symbols on social media because it means something. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask them, what does it mean?
I would love to be able to distribute those emojis to the parents. If some of you law enforcement officers can help us compile those so that we can share them with
What
the
we would
parents.
ask is that parents, if they'll just leave a list with their email address,
Right.
we can get that emailed out after this event.
Yes. So my next question is going to be, okay, go ahead.
One question, is there a dictionary, is there a gang dictionary available like that? Because if they don't have one, you should make one.
That would be nice, a
Dictionary.
pamphlet that we can put together for the community
Right,
that
no-
gives parents things to look for.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
It
yeah.
changes, okay.
Once
yeah.
you find this out, they're gonna start a whole new trend. It'll be some
Yeah.
food items or something. So you just gotta be, observant when you see it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the reasons we promoted this event the way we did. We didn't want to go heavy on the word gang and alert, the gang members that we're putting this together. But we do want to make sure that we get the information out. We're not being fearful of them, but letting us know that we have the information without alerting them that we have the information that they have. We need to keep abreast of what's there, and it may have to change. Maybe it's an email that goes out every so often, rather than a pamphlet that's printed. When the information changes, we're getting that information out there, because we can't say once they find out they're going to change it. Well, we're going to keep up with them. We're going to keep providing the information to the parents so that the parents know, so that the community knows, because they can't be the ones that's always in the know, and we're left in the dark. So.
Additionally, I just want to add that in your neighborhoods, pay attention, like when you see like painting, markings, and things of that nature, don't just like, oh, they just paint on the wall. No, they're leaving a message. So if you see certain symbols and stuff painted like that, take a picture, go to your local law enforcement and say, hey, what's this? And I'm pretty sure they should have someone there that specializes in gangs, and they'll tell you sometimes what gang, it may be a gang cross town or a group of individuals cross town that are actually taken up in your neighborhood. So just pay attention to those things. Don't just like, oh, they just painting whatever. Nah, it means something.
And just because I don't think we answered this young lady's question, one part of her question was, it's costing her money when someone breaks into her car, and if she's like most parents, we don't have extra money, that wasn't budgeted for. So one thing is, even the police departments have victim witness advocates, and you need to ask to speak to their victim witness advocates, because they can sometimes help you with reimbursements if it's attached to a crime. If someone is actually arrested and you get to the district attorney's office, we also have victim witness advocates, but we don't see the case unless there's an actual arrest. And some of the things our advocates can help with are reimbursement for expenses. Now, there's a maximum level to that. They're not going to pay for everything all the time, but some of those things can be reimbursed for, and you should know that.
Yeah. One of the questions she asked too, and we actually had this discussion yesterday, is should she just leave her door unlocked? If they're going to break the windows and break in anyway, do you recommend leaving your doors unlocked? I mean,
I definitely don't.
okay.
Yeah,
there's
lock your
mixed
doors.
opinions. Yeah, I lock mine.
Definitely lock your doors,
Yeah.
and also valuables in your vehicles. Not mentioning that that's what you're doing, but they're breaking in these cars because they're finding stuff. Unfortunately, they're finding weapons. They're finding purses with valuable credit cards and items like those sorts. So definitely keep all valuables out of the vehicle. Get cameras if you can. Put it around your house and pay attention. Just pay attention to different faces in the neighborhood and be, see something, say something, of course.
Question over here.
Would you say, I think the question is that that juveniles start with entering an auto, but what usually, do they just stay at entering an auto, or do you see an escalation in crime?
From what I've seen is, I dealt with some kids like at age 12, and they start the smaller crimes of just breaking in cars, stuff like that. They go in, come out, and if they have no guidance outside, they're gonna keep escalating. They're gonna eventually go to robbing and carjacking, and it just keeps escalating.
You wanted to say your
I mean, it all starts somewhere, that's correct. It does usually start with breaking into cars, and then they'll steal cars, go break into more cars elsewhere. We've had cars stolen in the cab. They come to South Fulton, break in the cars, steal a car there, and go out to East Point and break into more cars. And they get guns, money, purses, and for the drivers that leave their cars running at the gas station, just because you lock the door doesn't mean they can't drive off. We keep seeing it in the news. We keep putting those messages out there, but people are still leaving their cars running at the gas station. And somebody that just wants a ride down the street, they'll bust the window, hop in, drive off. And sometimes we had I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, right there in Fairburn pawn shop. They left their car running, went in the pawn shop. Their child was in the car seat, in the back seat, and the dude stole the car, drove down to East Point, and put the baby out with one of their family members, and then drove off in the stolen car again. So leaving cars running at the gas station, your key fobs in the cars at home, that's allowing them easier access to your car to go commit more violent crimes elsewhere.
Also, great point. Also on that, they recruit the younger guys because of the process, of the system. I'm gonna go recruit that 12-year-old because, and I know when we patrol, we know how hard it is to get in Metro RIDC with these juveniles. And at this point, all they gotta do is say they smoke marijuana and they don't even wanna take them. You gotta get them cleared. So it's a long process to deal with them. They recruit those younger guys because it's a slap on the wrist most of the time. And as they get older, it starts to become that trend. And when we talk about these gangs, that's usually how the gangs start. I mean, we had the Flathead boys on by Hightower. It started with a young guy who's always going in, breaking the cars and get away with it. That's how the trend is. It switches day by day. But it's accountability. It's on us, and like I said, wraparound services. It can't just be law enforcement. It can't. They can't deal with that part all the time because there's just so many other things going on. So parents, even when you're frustrated, you need that help. You got to have a resource to reach out to. So there's no reason why we shouldn't leave and have at least 5 or 10 numbers of people that we can call right now, right? So that's how we're going to start. We're not going to be defeated, but we got to start somewhere. And this is how we do it right now. Build your foundation now, and it gets stronger. Then we can start doing those things. Community people, young lady with the car break-ins, get to know the officer in that area, that patrol. It's a community engagement unit in each department. They have those people that come out, that's able to come out. And they can start doing things, putting the dummy cameras up, putting certain things up, start doing heavy patrol. But the problem starts when we don't have the relationship. I can't get this kid, and you know it's the kid, and if you just send me a little email and say, hey, is this kid right here? I can work with you, but I can't if you don't talk. If you don't say anything, it makes it so ineffective. And then officers start saying, you know what, I'm tired too. So that's why I said we start from there. I got you though.
Yes. So for municipalities who have park and recreation facilities, my question is, what programs can we put in our park and recreation in our divisions that will bring the age group 16 to 18 or engage 16 to 18 years of age more? Because that's what we're not doing a good job, and that's all municipalities across Metro Atlanta. We do a great job with doing the youth programs, but when that age group, 16 to 18, so I'm out of the loop what should we do, or what should we be asking our park directors to do to bring that age group in? And then the second part of my question is, can you please talk to them about the point system?
I'm gonna stop too, because I know I'm talking too much. Hire them. This 16, 18 youth level, hire them. We had lifeguards back when I was in Atlanta. We used to be junior lifeguard. We used to be coaches. We coached the football team, the 16, 18 youth. Put a little money in their pocket so they can deter. It ain't gonna get all of them, but a couple $100 to get them off the streets. Yeah. A couple $100 to keep me from breaking in that car. Because if y'all want to know the real root of the problem, sometimes they hungry.
It's money.
They hungry. They can't eat. I'm hungry. I don't have any shoes. I don't have any clothes. I'm in the schools now, and I see it every day. We see those. I had to bring them in the office and say, let me see, what size shirt you wear? It's deeper than crime, and it's deeper than that. It's poverty. So we gotta hire them. We gotta start putting some money in their pockets. Even the parents that are not working, school system, hire them to be hall monitors. They ain't gonna disrespect Miss Johnson. They respect her in the community. That's how we start doing these things. But we're so top heavy in the school systems and all over that we don't look at the smaller pieces. So that's it. I'm done for real.
Yeah, talk to your kids. I asked my son, he just turned 22 years old, but I asked him a couple years ago, how do we stop it? And he said, Ma, it's about the money. You know, these gangs are offering them rap careers, they're offering them the money, and that's what's driving them to go that route, you know? So we definitely have to make sure that we put money in their pockets, we give them jobs, we show them things that they can do to make money, trades, working at Chick-fil-A, whatever. It's not gonna get them the amount of money that the gangs are doing, but it's gonna put something in their pocket, because I can guarantee you, if they had a choice, they would go that route.
Good morning. I would like to just give the DA a round of applause, because she has a program that's called REACH. I'm a school social worker in Atlanta Public Schools. I worked in Fulton County School as a school social worker for 22 years, and this is my 5th year in Atlanta Public Schools. And one thing I can say is that there are programs out here, but like I said, the biggest thing is a lot of times when the paperwork comes home to the parents won't fill it out, because parents already have a problem with the police. They put negative vibes into their children about the police and filling out forms, so the students think that the police are the enemy. So like I said, I've gone to students' funerals and everything. So at this point in time, like you said, it is money, it is being hungry. Like I said, we work with students every day who are the caretakers for their younger siblings. Parents are on drugs. I mean, parents are in and out of jail. It's just a lot going on. So as you said, hire those students, but as you say, they initiate them from the time when they're middle school students, and they start with the small petty things. And as the young lady was saying, this point system, I have 2 nephews right now. One's already been sentenced to 6 years in prison. Another one is waiting now to get his sentence. I had one that was murdered on Hollywood Road. At this point in time, I get what everybody is saying. My nephews didn't have to go that route, but the streets will get your family, even when you're out here trying to, do your best. So all I can say is that these forums are very important, and the dissemination of how this information gets out. I didn't get the information, and I'm a school social worker, until Thursday. I did not know, but I came because of ADA Woods Roberts, who I work one-on-one with, and Ms. Shorthouse, and because they come to my school and we go hard for the students. So that's the first thing, is can the information get out in enough time for parents and people to be here?
Noted. Yes, definitely. Thank you for coming out. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but parents, I want you to think about this. What is your ask of law enforcement? And then I'm going to ask one more question of law enforcement, and then we'll come to the parents and you tell us what your ask is. So for the agencies, what initiatives do you have in place to curb the appetite? Do you have any in place to curb the appetite for crimes in your jurisdiction, or to hinder it in any way? Do you have any initiatives in place?
One initiative we have is, when I started, even when I was in the city of South Fulton, is having there needs to be an internal multi-jurisdictional repeat offender database, especially centered around juveniles. It's real sensitive because you just can't release that information to anybody. But a lot of the problems that we have with law enforcement now is a lot of our top commanders are not communicating with each other. And the ground level communicates, but the communication needs to be stronger. So if I know if you pick Lil Johnny up, I automatically know who Lil Johnny is. A lot of times that just the strengthening the communication, that's why, you know, everybody has their own little silos of repeated from the databases, but it needs to be shared. It's sharing intelligence that can actually strengthen this whole issue that we have with these kids. And also to go another length to actually share that information with school police. Because a lot of times they're lost. And they see stuff that already ruined before we get it. So definitely strengthen that communication line there.
Any other jurisdictions have any initiatives in place?
For Fairburn, we do have the youth football group that plays at Duncan Park. We have the youth center right next door to the police department. We do have the cops unit, community-oriented policing. They go out to the schools, do more events tied in with the schools, giving them book bags and stuff. And then we had to cancel our national night out. That brings a lot of people, not just from our city, but the closer cities into Fairburn too. And that allows them to feel safe communicating with us their wants and needs in their communities or their neighborhoods. Hey, these are the issues we're having, and it's just those community type events bring us closer, that ties that gap.
Any others? Can someone speak to the point system? I mean, it's important. It's important to get that information out. Maybe
So,
they.
It's how the point system, well, and you can help me out, and we got some, but it's based on the severity of the crime most of the time, so the simple crimes don't add up to the points. It's for our repeat offenders, so let's just say.
So that we're clear, this is for juveniles
Juvenile.
specifically.
Yes,
The- and it is the lesser crimes. If from a district attorney's perspective, and probably from law enforcement, it's very frustrating because we have communities come to us. They want children that are problems, you know, taken out of that community at least for a little while. And the point system, because you require so many points, really does not penalize children very much. With that, though, one thing I think that we need to balance is these children and parents need to understand if your child does a certain kind of crime, at the age of 13 years old, we start to treat them like an adult. And that is very important to know. One of the big crimes that they've kind of hit on but haven't said specifically are armed robberies or carjackings, which are basically armed robberies. If you are a 13-year-old child and you commit an armed robbery, you are actually an adult, and your minimum sentence is 10 years and your maximum sentence is life. And we're giving those out like candy. That is information that kids need to know because armed robbery, I would say, is one of the other big crimes that we see our young 13 to 17-year-olds committing. I think that one thing that's important, all this law enforcement has said, Fairburn, College Park, is they're telling you about activities without saying the direct sentence. The best way to keep your kids out of trouble is to keep them busy. Like constantly busy so that it's exhausting you and exhausting them. They need to have somewhere to go and something to do every day after school. I really appreciate the shout out to REACH, and I think that that's an important program for parents to know because it's free, right? I raised 2 little girls by myself. I ain't got money for dance and skating and all the things that they're to do because it's just me. And for a lot of parents, I know it's just you. Look for as much free programming because free programming will lead you to other free programming for your kids. Because you really don't want to see these folks in another setting.
Yeah, and start them early. I started my kids at 3 years old in soccer. You know, like you said, you keep them tired. My son played football all throughout high school, and he started at 5:30 in the morning and ended up at 9 o'clock at night. And at 5:30, he was, Mom, get up, because if he's late, the coaches are making the whole team run. So there's accountability there. So those types of activities give them something to look forward to and keeps them off the street and keeps them tired. Mike.
senior investigator, Livesy, that works at the Atlanta Police Department. It's a program that he participates in. It's called the U program.
You?
U.
Y-O-U.
YOU, Youth Opportunity Unit. And it's through juvenile court of Fulton County. And it actually helps kids that have been in trouble, that has come through juvenile court. And the problem that he had, that he saw, was the parent participation, because we cannot, you know, as a community, make your kid do something without your permission. And from what he's told me is, if he recommended 60 kids for the program, maybe only 2 parents would give permission for the actual kids to participate. So if we can get more, I guess, parental participation, I think that program is wonderful, because he does have success with the youth that were in trouble. He can get, he help them put them on the right track, help find them jobs, stuff like that. So any parent that have a kid that has gotten in trouble before, it's not too late. Look up the youth program. I think it's a very good program, and like I said, Livesy, one of my coworkers that I work really closely with, he talks about it a lot.
Yeah, real quick, I want to say something. I'm a retired investigator from Atlanta, and we're here with Clippers and Cops. Me and Kim, we both were gang investigators in Atlanta, so we're giving back to the community by, bridging that gap between law enforcement and the community. And I say one thing, reach out to some of your organizations like the 100 Black Men. Reach out to some of your organizations, your fraternities and sororities that have these programs, mentorship programs out there in the community that y'all can look to. And reach out to your HOA presidents in your community, because those people have funds, because they get dues. So, and they have programs inside of that that can help. And if you out here, this is very important. Your kids look up to you, but you got to be the one who's guiding them the right direction. Law enforcement, as they say, cannot correct all the things that happen in the home, but you got to be there, and you got to have the ability to go out and talk to these kids at their level, because sometimes we want to be at this level, they at this level.
We wanted to start in the homes before they get any contact to law enforcement.
Just before I give off the mic to this young lady here, let me also say that the churches need to be that resource place also. I'm hearing about these wonderful programs, but I would love to have flyers, pamphlets in the church, so we know as pastors and officers, so we can share with our community and youth as they come in. So please help us to be that resource place as well.
Hello, I'm Deanna Christie. I'm a credible messenger, and I'm also with Chance to Change in OAA. You guys have the blueprint. You're just not using it. Just like she just said about Parks and Recs. The mayor, I think it's Rochester, he started opening the recreation centers late. Kids like to play basketball. They don't have PS5s and all these games in poverty, so they don't have anything to do but play with guns. They have nothing to do. So if we can get the police officers in these rec centers and keep them open later to give the kids something to do, because the kids that don't want to be involved with guns are involved with guns because that's what their homeboys and homegirls is doing. So the thing is to keep them busy. Once we get the kids, it's already too late, because we get them at 14, 15, and 16, and 17, they're already gone. They start at 10, 9, 11, 12, they start there. So we need the parents to try to help us, and we need these parks and rec centers open so we can give the kids something to do, because it is boredom. They have nothing else to do. They don't have the video games. They can't afford the stuff that the upper echelon kids have. So they don't have nothing else to do but to go outside and get into mischief.
Pastor Ramsey.
Thank you so much. And I think I've seen the officer in the middle at our school. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for the service that you render. One thing I want to just kind of bookshelf this with is that our kids are gifts to be engaged, not problems to fix.
Yeah.
And I think what we're hearing a lot of is, how do we take that pure talent, that pure creativity, and channel it in the right direction? The sister who is up here now, Angela, our kids swam together at the rec center. My son stayed in that swimming pool, stayed active. So I think, and I'm a pastor at the Shrine of the Black Madonna, We have over 30,000 acres of land. We could have summer camps. We can do whatever we need to do to get our kids out of the city for a minute and realign themselves with their pure gifts and talents. Because there is a disconnect as a teacher. If you ask any first, second, third, fourth, fifth grader what they want to be, it's a police officer. But there's a disconnect somewhere. And I think it starts here in terms of bridging that. And again, I thank you so much for the work that you do.
Amen. Now, another question back here. Yes.
I just want to chime in. I'm on one of the panels coming up. But listen, y'all, if we're keeping it real, I'm from the suburbs. They closed the Boys and Girls Club in Paulding County. They closed the Boys and Girls Club in Douglasville. You know, the truth of the matter is that we all have to work together. And I think everybody is saying that. I'll speak more to that when it's my time to talk. But these community centers have to stay open for our kids.
They do.
Thank you.
They do. Everyone? Okay. Well, that brings us to, oh, we got one more over here? Okay.
All right, so I want to speak from the parents' perspective, of course, because I've had kids that grew up in these same communities as well. And yes, I get it. We have the community centers. We have all of these resources. But to get back to where we all know, we have to meet the immediate needs. Because if we don't touch on the immediate needs, like the hunger and the things that they're dealing with at home, they can come to the center. They're still going back into that same environment where the issue really is. So I really feel like, you know, to really get to the issue is to speak to our youth, okay? We really got to deep dive. And sometimes separate from the parents because they don't feel safe to talk in environments where the parents are there, okay? Because sometimes, unfortunately, the parents are part of the issue. And that's when we have to really just really put that mirror to our own selves, right? Yeah. So, and I say that because I really deep dive when it comes to my children. My children have suffered and been through some things. But it took for me to see what was not being said, okay? Listen to the things that, because sometimes silence is an indicator that something is not right, something is off. We really have to tap into our children more to really figure out what the immediate needs. Some of it is mental. A lot of our people don't believe in even therapy. And it's sad because you're doing your child a disservice. We can't sit here and keep dismissing and saying, oh, they don't have a real issue, or you don't got no real concerns. In a child's mind, that is a real concern from them. They don't think like we do. So that's really where we have to start with the immediate needs, because we can build every program out there and they will not come, or they're not going to be interested in what we have because they're still dealing with other stuff, right? So I feel like that's where we need to start. And your church covering, you know, we're in the rebuild phase at the Kingdom of God. We're asking for the youth to get involved. We want the parents to come, like, get involved, not just be a member, but actually see what your children are doing. Pour into them, you know, create entrepreneurs. Like, my baby is 5. We started her with a lip gloss line. She want to be in people's face all the time, right? So, okay, give her a product. You can start them at a young, there's no age limit to it, right? They got things in their mind. You know, encourage them to write it, right? Create entrepreneurs, like authors and things of that nature. So those are some of our initiatives here. We are asking, I'm the youth coordinator here. 11 to 17 is our targeted area. So start bringing them to church. I mean, it's a family thing. Everyone should be coming. So I want to stop there.
Thank you. Right. One more.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank y'all for what y'all are doing. The most impactful, most important thing that I heard that was a direct home hitter for me is the lady here said that we have 13-year-olds, when they commit certain crimes, they're being charged as adults, and they're getting a minimum of 10 years to life. I was 13 before. When I was 19, I committed armed bank robbery. I was sentenced to 10 years. And what hit home for me is when I look at the level of maturity that I've had since 19 and since going through what I went through, I look back and like, man, look at how I turned out. Some of these 13-year-olds may not get that chance. And I just don't want to sit here and overlook the fact that the trauma, the fact that a child may be 13, for a child to be 13 and even to the level to where they're willing to and carry out an armed robbery shows that there is a lack of guidance, a lack of parenting, a lack of support in that child's life. And honestly, that child cannot be the one to bear blame at 13 years old, although we must be accountable. However, 10 years at 13 years old, that's already starting them on the wrong path. Long story short, I was lucky that when I was and I lost both of my parents. This is some of these kids' real life story. My dad died when I was 12. By the time my mom was left to raise 5 boys. By the time I was 19, my dad died, then my mom died when I was 18. I was left. They took my brothers and told me my mom was adopted, left me in the house. When the bills were due, it was on me. This is a reality. This is my reality. By the time I was 21, I was tired of bouncing house to house and couch to couch. I went and robbed a bank so that I could try to do something to get me and my brothers out of those circumstances. I was never a bad person. I didn't have a bad heart. I was the young guy, when I see the old lady carrying her grocery, I'm running to help her. But these are the realities that these kids are facing that's pushing them into these certain circumstances. However, I don't want to speak too long, but I just want to address that and say that me, myself, I actually speak to kids. I'm a mentor. I'm one of the ones that'll step in and try to do what I can do to lead them down the right path. And so specifically for those that are incarcerated, while I was locked up, I turned prison to college. I started college correspondence courses while I was back there. I came home with marketing management, small business management, retail department manager. That's all I would do. When people sent me money, I would order books while I was back there. So I want to say this to address that situation. With the youth that are incarcerated in the youth detention centers now, we need to have an opportunity or something for them to be able to educate themselves and prepare themselves for their release so that when they come out, they have a better mindset and they have the support system that they need to do the right thing. Because in order for them to take that right path, they need that support. And I don't want to seem like I actually would love for anybody that need that type of help and guidance, please allow me to play a part as well, because I'm one of the ones with the lived experience and a heart and a passion to see so that that next 19-year-old that was in my situation, or that 13-year-old, that 15-year-old, has somebody that can talk to them and try to lead them toward the right path. I have a book called The Game Changer. It's available on Amazon. It's a 52-week curriculum for what people need to kind of change their mind and make that transition mentally, because everything starts in the mind. So we have to address that. I just wanted to say that. Thank y'all for everything, y'all.
Thank you. Don't leave without us getting your information.
I think that was, I felt like he almost set me up, and I could have paid him for doing what he just did, so thank you for doing that. But the reality is, I think what the police are saying in a short way is, one, by the time it gets to them, we're already at a problem, and most of why we see the children in this situation is because they don't have 2 or even 1 parent at home. That's the reality. So we are going to have to, as a community, do things like volunteer. I thank Pastor Henry, because I don't say this slightly. We tried to go to other churches, and they wanted us to pay to do this. There's a lot of people that are not really pouring back into our youth. We really need everybody in this room to volunteer, to pour into children. If you don't have the time, then make sure you're taking chips up to the school, or T-shirts, or sandwiches, because our kids are literally hungry, and they're gonna find a way, and that way can be putting a gun in your face or a way to do something positive. And I do agree with what the young lady said. When you meet these kids, they are brilliant. Yeah. They have the potential to do and be anything they want, but they don't see it. So we really need people who can volunteer to also leave a list outside that you're willing to volunteer to get involved, because these police officers, they gotta keep us safe, and they can't do all of it alone.
This has been a very, very good discussion, and we can't do it all in an hour. We got to keep it going. We got to keep the discussion going. We got to keep the follow-ups going. I would love to see this panel with pastors and elected officials, because the programs are what we need. We need the village that is going to say, I'm here for you when you feel like nobody is there for you, when you can't eat. When you have a chance to donate your old clothes, your old shoes, we take up shoes, we take up clothes, we take up food. We're asking for donations. I know we just run our office crazy because we're always asking them to give, but they always come out and give. Give. These people, these children, the adults, they appreciate. Nobody's like, I'm too ashamed to take it. Bring it. Bring the clothes, bring the shoes, bring the food, bring what you can. Bring yourself, bring your time. It matters. It definitely matters. So thank you all for your time this morning for this first panel. I am so excited about the second panel. There are refreshments out there. We're going to take let's do a 10-minute break, and we'll come back.
And what time is lunch? Folks want to know what time lunch is.
Lunch is right after the breakout sessions, and maybe we'll have to cut the breakout sessions because we're having such great discussions. We've already overrun our time on the first panel, and we got the second panel coming up with the school administrators. So let's go. There's food out there now, so go eat what you can, and let's get back and take a bathroom break and come back in 10 minutes. Thank you. Y'all need to spread the chairs out some. You And I'm going to let our panel introduce themselves. Should see a green
Good morning. Okay, here we go. Good morning, family. I am Tracy Ragland. I am a middle school assistant principal. I service the East Point community in Fulton County Schools.
Good morning. I'm Officer Williams with Fulton County School Police.
Good morning. I'm Okivia Carter. I'm Executive Director at Fulton County Schools Peak Academy in Roswell, Hateville, and Union City.
Good morning. I'm Benjamin Downs, social worker at Banneker High School. I'm also owner of Equilibrium and Benjamin Consulting, mental health, and other legal services.
I'm Jason K. with Wheel of Value Excellence, a mentoring group that's going to be servicing Mays High School this year.
Is your green button on there? Oh, you got to turn it on.
I'm Kimberly Brown, Mac School social worker, Atlanta Public Schools. I service Frederick Douglass High School, 9th grade STEAM Academy.
I'm Kim Underwood. I'm a retired Atlanta Police game detective. I'm a member of a nonprofit Clippers and Cops.
My name is Ord Curry. I'm also part of Clippers and Cops. I'm a retired detective from Atlanta Police Department Gang Unit and Training Academy.
I am Officer Robinson, Fulton County School Police Patrol Unit. I work on the south side and north side of the county.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us. This is red. Deacon Mosley. Oh. No, it's green. It's gonna be green. Okay. The first question is, how does adolescent mental health challenges, trauma, and/or substance abuse issues contribute to delinquent behaviors?
Okay. Read that again.
How does adolescent mental health challenges, trauma, or substance abuse issues contribute to delinquent behavior? Let's add hunger in there as well.
So when kids, one, they become anxious, they become depressed, and they act out. So that acting out oftentimes could be they are actually looking for some help, but we've missed it. So they do things. Okay, that's one. And then two, if I'm have any type of addiction issue and I don't have any money, then I need a way to be able to feed my problem. You see what I'm saying? So I need to be able to get access to cash to be able to do those things that I like to do. And while we're talking about addiction and I know delinquency, the use of marijuana right now, we see a lot of marijuana use. It creates what's called amotivational syndrome. So they don't want to do anything like productive, but they still want to be able to get their fixes. You know, they still need to be able to get access to that weed. And so they'll go out and they'll do different things. Also, you have peer pressure that adds to their willingness to participate in delinquent activities. So I think, going back around to some of the stuff that was said first, we got to be able to keep them busy, and we got to be able to have mentoring programs, and a lot of times we got to be able to have parents who are willing to put their kids in programs. A lot of times parents will say, my child don't have a problem, because they don't know, or they pretend not to know, or they ignore it.
Yes. Okay. How does mental health challenges, trauma, and substance abuse issues contribute to delinquent behavior. And I want to add a piece to that. What are, okay.
That's a lot, that's a lot.
Okay, okay.
The first part in talking about
Bring your mic up.
the first part of talking about how does trauma and how does all that affect students, if, like the lady said, it starts at home. A lot of our students, a lot of this stuff is genetic. A lot of our students, first of all, they have behavior disorders and they have mental health disorders that they're inherently born with. And a lot of times, a lot of our children do have ADHD, OCD, all those type of things. And it's the medicine that a doctor want to prescribe. And once the kids realize that I'm not my usual regular self where I like to talk, I like to move, I like to have fun, the medicine prohibits me from doing those type of things. So they'll try the marijuana, they'll try something else because it keeps them a little bit mellow. And then you have trauma, living in the communities that we live in, having neighborhoods be shot up, sitting at home on the block and somebody kick your mama door in and all of a sudden your mama, somebody locked up. You got younger sisters and brothers, and you got to come back to school that next morning, and you got to try to figure out how you going to get to school, how you going to get them to school. Then you want me to come to school, then you want me to listen to a teacher that got me in a box at a desk all day, because if you go to some schools on the northern sides of town, some classrooms don't even have desks in there. They have bean bags for kids to sit down. They want a little black boy, 8-year-old, to sit down in a desk all day, but then there's a teacher, Miss Susie, that's on the other side that let you sit in a bean bag and do your work. She don't care if you rolling on your back or what you do, as long as you get the work done. But we want little Mike to sit there and be still. That's not what our children do. So we have to meet them where they are. And it's first thought that trauma and mental health is real. People not getting it. It was long before COVID. I think God allowed COVID to hit the nation for people to finally wake up and see what we've let pass for 100 years and realize that it's gotten worse. So this is our first group of kids right now that I'm seeing the effects that COVID didn't negatively affect as bad as the ones that it affected these last 5 years. And nobody's really getting it. Like the lady said, okay, well, this is a big disconnect. But like I said, this question she asked, that question has too many parts to it for me to really decipher. I need it piece by piece to really break it down for you. But I'm telling you, the first thing start is going to school board meetings.
Right.
The first part is going to these meetings and talking to persons that's up here like administrators and persons that have these big title jobs. No disrespect to the people on this panel, but everybody has to know that this is long before the song Boots on the Ground came out. You got to get in the trenches and you got to really know what's happening with our kids. You got to be familiar with these neighborhoods.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, on the mental health part of it, I'm not a mental health professional, but I encounter a lot of kids that I know that haven't been diagnosed. So it starts with the family getting your kid diagnosed. Like, just don't brush it off as little Johnny is just acting weird.
Right.
If something may be going on, you got to get the kid evaluated. Right. Example, I have one little girl got in all sorts of trouble. So I finally talked to her, like, baby, what's going on? I saw her looking around. I said, are voices talking to you? She was like, oh, you hear voices also? And she haven't been diagnosed. So we got to get these kids treated early.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So again, I'm an assistant principal. So one of the things that, speaking to what you all are talking about with the mental health and the trauma that our kids face, as an administrator, we know these things. And so when we talk to our teachers, we try to get ahead and we say, hey, this child did not sleep last night, or this child was actually home. Or do you know that this child and their family, they're homeless? There's 5 of them in a hotel. And so if you're noticing some disruptive behaviors, you need to pull them aside and have a conversation. It's not the time to get on them and compound the issue, and then you send them to me, and now you're expecting me to suspend. Do know that schools are about the business of teaching and learning. We need our children in the schools, because if they are suspended, that's lost learning. That's lost learning. And then they're at home where their parents who need to be working, there's no child care. So if you think about all the things that our law enforcement panel spoke about, they have space and opportunity to get into all those things because we didn't suspended them. So we have to keep them in school. So yes, we have a lot of wraparound services in our schools. We have counselors who come in and counsel our babies, but we also need our parents to be transparent with us and say, here's what's going on, because we have a lot of resources that our parents just don't know about.
Jackson.
She said pretty much what I was going to say, but no. The mentoring aspect is pretty much I think is one of the biggest aspects of keeping them out of trouble. There's things that these kids don't want to talk to their parents about, that they want to talk to somebody else about, that they build trust with. And being a mentor, sometimes I'm not the mentor. It'll be Rucker or another partner of mine. So we'll kind of try to rotate them to mentors that they might feel comfortable with. And back to the mental health part, the regimen of these kids are not taking their medicine in the regimen that they're supposed to take them in, and they'll throw their chemical imbalance off, and they'll act out in ways that it might be it will be a disruptive behavior in the classroom, and it'll be looked at as criminal, or to looked at as adolescent, or even get a violation. So parents, make sure that if they're on medication, please make sure they're taking their medicine, because they'll act like they're taking their medicine, and they're not taking their medicine, and then they'll come to school and they'll try, and then having all of this stuff going on as far as taking a street drug, weed, and mixed with all this other stuff, it throws them off. And then when we get to the mentoring part, sometimes he's so far gone, the mentoring part is he needs a psych evaluation at this time, and it's hard to even pull him back. Now we're not in the school, we're not in the business of teaching or mentoring. We're in the business of actually getting some psych help, and that can be a problem within itself in the school, and the school is not for that. So just listen to the doctor's recommendations, and I've spoken to a lot of parents that don't believe in the medication and don't think nothing's wrong with their child when everybody is telling them something's wrong with their child. And sometimes mentoring works, but just make sure you set them up with a mentor, or try to get them some mentor. If the mentor doesn't work, try to get them a therapist.
You all said a mouthful so far. One key thing that you said, and I'll restate it in a different way, is one size does not fit all. You know, education, my son was in KIP, and he's very, very intelligent, but I was getting a call every single day because he was disrupting the class. He was doing his work, and then he'd get up and he's disrupting the class because it didn't fit him. He wasn't that structured kid. I put him in maze, and he thrived. Every year he progressed. I put him in there in the 10th grade. In the 12th grade, he made all A's the entire single year. And his teachers were different because they engaged with him the way that he needed to be engaged. You know, every student you can't say to every student, sit down and do your work, because they're not going to do it. Some of them need some incentive to do it. You know, every child is different, but we're gonna touch on all those things. What are the challenges that educators and schools face in keeping youth engaged, especially those facing multiple risk factors at home or outside of the school, or ADHD or ODD or all these depression? What are some of the things that you all face in dealing with those different types of students?
I think piggybacking off of what you just said, all students are not the same. So you have to identify what is each student's strength, and you work towards their strength. All of them have problems. So no use in focusing on the problem, because all of them have problems. Focus on the solution. What's the strength? What does this kid like? And if you have a child, let's say your child's 10th grade, 17, or 9th grade, 16, without a late birthday. Okay, I'm not talking about somebody with a late birthday. And they're struggling. They're struggling in that classroom. There are other ways to success. There are other ways to success. We just need to find an environment where he can be successful. What my experience has been is that a lot of parents are so stuck on I want my child to graduate from the school, is that they end up leaving the child in the school until the last minute, and then we get to the 12th grade, what should be the 12th grade year, and the child is, he's been struggling all this time, and now he's at the point of giving up or using a chemical to make him feel better and not doing what he's supposed to do. Now we're at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? So it's best to go ahead and intervene early. Also, if somebody says, well, we need to look at doing something different for your child, or some mental health or something, don't be opposed to it. It's you know, the stigma is gone. People need mental health treatment. And we have, in the schools, we have in school mental health providers. And once that referral is made, the parents just need to follow up. The biggest disconnect is the follow-up. So they can't provide the service without the permission of the parent. So the resources oftentimes are there. It's just people, for whatever reason, get stuck on what they want as opposed to what's in the best interest of the child. And everybody can be successful. You just got to find that context for their success.
Yeah, there's stigmas between around IEP plans. I recommend them. My child was on one. He was smart, but he had some issues. But the IEP plan helped him. He could stay after class, finish his work, you know, because he did have those challenges. But he didn't like it, but I said, you're going to do it, you know, because I wanted him to be successful. So those programs that are out there, we need to take advantage of them as a parent.
I think part of your question was what is missing from the schools that will help our students, or in some way that was the summary.
That we can offer.
Right. So just in case you don't know, I work at Peak Academy, right, or the 3 locations, and when the students come to me, they've been suspended, so they've already done something to make their way to my program, which is alternative setting. And what I have focused on in my years with the company is training our teachers on being culturally responsive, being able to teach our kids, and also trauma-informed care. And I think that may be part of what may be missing from our public schools, having our teachers to know and recognize the things that our students are dealing with, the things that are in our communities, knowing where they come from, how they're raised, because there's differences, right? And culture just doesn't mean the color of our skin and the texture of our hair either. Culture is our upbringing. It's our religion. It could be, you know, it's our age. It's the things they see. It's social media. It's a gamut of things. And I think our teachers miss, that's the key component, I think, to reaching our kids and that rapport building, right? And having the opportunity to build those relationships because they don't have it.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I want to piggyback off. I've been to Peak. Clippers and Cops came to Peak.
Come back.
Fulton County Schools, I got to take my hats off to you guys. You guys do have us come in at least 2 or 3 times a school year, and we come in as a group, Clippers and Cops, our nonprofit, and it's just not police officers. We got a WSB TV guy, we got a radio personality, we have a convicted felon that we arrested for APD gang unit. He's on board with us. He come and talk to the kids, and I think the kids need reality. The kids need to see that people like me who grew up on the west side of Atlanta and got in trouble and was a teenage mom still made it and was successful. Stories like Curry, who's from the other side of the track. So we kind of give them, the guy who actually started Clippers and Cops, he's from St. Louis, and he wanted to go pro. It's basketball, but he talked to the kids about going pro in life, meaning that you might not be an athlete, you might not be a rapper, you might not be, but it's stuff, if you hear our stories and how we grew up, and we can relate to the kids that, yeah, we did bad stuff growing up, but in spite of, here, this is us. We're doing good. So programs like ours, I think, help. Like I said, we've been to every Fulton County school on the south side. We don't go to the north side. We go to the south side because we know that's where our kids are, and we know that they need us, and they need that extra mentoring that we can give them. And we have success stories. Where Pancake, we got a guy called Pancake from Banneker. When we met him, he was cutting class, selling candy. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. This guy was about 6'8", 300 pounds, and we said, you need to be on somebody's football team. We got Pancake on the football team at Banneker. He and his mom ended up pulling him out and taking him up north, but he's still staying in touch with us, and he still plays football. So we feel like we helped change his life from being in trouble to, you know, playing football. So programs like ours, and I know it's another one, like I'm a Father First, and different, you know, organizations, let them into your schools. Because I know it's, you know, yeah, we have to, you know, get permission from parents to talk to them about certain stuff, but I think that if they see success, or they see people in their ear all the time telling them, hey, you can be this, you can be great. We love you. We don't even know you, and we love you. Yeah. So I think those kind of programs that we, you know, offer will help. And no parenting is hard. Like I said, I was a teenage mom, but we're here to help the parents.
Yeah.
And I think there's two organizations up here. There's Clippers and Cops that are retired police officers, and there's WAVE that are active police officers that are currently doing this. So there are resources out there, and we always put out jail tours, and that's one of our biggest hits right there. And we have a lot of parents that don't even want their kids to go. We don't even take them to the housing zone. We pull the inmates out, certain inmates out. It's not like they're going to be, everybody has a stigma of it's going to be beyond scared straight. I've done beyond scared straight plenty of times, and the yelling and it doesn't get to them. Just the actual, the educational part of it, I think every kid needs to see a jail that has a problem, to see the living conditions, to see the food that they eat, to see the restrictions that they have. And being in the free world is actually like a privilege. It'll make them feel like it's a privilege, and they won't regret it. So a lot of times we have parents that just don't want to bring their kids to these programs. We actually have to implement ourselves in the schools, because if we set a workshop up outside of the school, sometimes either transportation is an issue, scheduling is an issue, but you have to be active and motivated parent if you have a problematic child that needs a little bit of attention, that needs a little bit more of a push. And there's resources out here. There's just two organizations up here that are retired and active, or retired police officers and active police officers that want to pour into your kids. It took us, we started by just going to Creel Park and giving out Gatorades and engaging with those kids. Yeah. And just, Rucker would be on the beat, and them kids would tell him what's going on, just because he had that connection with the community. So I don't want to take up too much.
And I was going to be real quick, and I was going to say what I've seen now, Fulton County, Atlanta Public Schools, the CAB schools. The crazy part about it, we talking about something that could be impactful right now. We lack male staff members. We lack male. I'm at KIPP schools now. I'm in South Fulton, and the first thing I come in and see, it's 80 females and 5 males. And I tell the males, like, even if you're in this school, I don't care if you're a custodian or whatever, you're a role model. You got to be active. You see somebody acting out, you don't just walk by that situation. You don't have to put your hands on them or nothing, but your presence alone can make an impact. And I just wanted to go to the boards and say, hey, look, let's lower these qualifications. I mean, we all know certain people done beat qualifications still in, leading the world. So drop these qualifications, man. People made mistakes when they were young. Hire some of these guys that can come in there and be an impactful person just by being in the building. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I know sometimes we have some different type of charges, and that's fine, but for some of the stuff that you did at 13 years old and you did something, stole some candy or something, don't deny this application because of that. Right. Give this person a chance. They've learned from that. So that's my thing.
Yeah. We got a, hey.
So I just want to go back to the mental health and the IEP. I'm going to be so serious. Like, I'm hearing a lot of this grunt about, oh, the parents ain't, and the parents ain't. And we got a lot of parents that are. Yeah. So a lot of times we got to clap our hands and give it, because if I keep going to a PTA meeting or I keep going to a one-on-one and all I hear was the parent ain't, well, I'm going to come back.
Right.
I'm that parent. I got 4 sons. And my son was that top football player, full scholarship, all that, went to South Carolina State account, but I got one doing 20 years. So I had to stop the college visit because he was good. And I had to start the prison visit. And it went to the IEP, so when I went into the schools and they wanted to talk about mental health and they wanted to talk about that, if I don't understand, explain it to me.
Right.
Don't tell me what I can't do and what I won't do and how I won't get there. And tell me that if I say your child can't see right now, I'm gonna put him in this class, that's an IEP. Because everything we think and we say, we describe mental is not mental.
It's not.
But we put it in a mental box. So a lot of times when we go into these parent-teacher conference or these different meetings with the social workers, and first of all, you got 5 certified individuals with 1 parent. First of all, I feel like my back up against the wall because you already feel like if I don't agree with what you say, I don't understand. So again, help the parents understand. Make them feel welcome to understand. Behavior is the IEP. Let them know that they can get another teacher and they can get 2 teachers to go in the classroom. I had that because I listened, but they made me feel welcome. And I'm just saying a lot of things that I'm hearing is not welcoming. And so that's when you don't get the parents. So then that's when me as a mother, when it started Mothers Against Gang Violence, because I wanted the parents to feel like this is what they told me. And I'm gonna make you feel welcome enough to go in there and ask them. And if they can't sit with you and make you feel well, it's welcoming. Everybody, it's like the way you present is very loud.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we come into the school, we already, if a child being suspended from there, first of all, let's go here. That first suspension, they look on them suspension. It's 3B battery. Have we told the parents that when they get suspended in elementary school? So it goes, every suspension has a rate as when they in prison. So by the time they do go to jail, they already have on prison record because you've been fighting since you was in kindergarten. So let's explain the truth to the parent about when the suspension starts. So I just want to share that. It's a lot of the parents not this and the parents not that. And I've been doing family engagement for 9 years ever since my son been incarcerated because I ain't ashamed. What I did was I went and got my criminal justice degree so I can understand.
Yeah.
So we have to put behavior and mental health and opportunities with parents. So kind of like lay low on what you feel like all parents, and then kind of bring a little bit of life. We do have some parents that'll listen. Might change that narrative a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. We want to strengthen the relation. We have a comment up here, but we want to strengthen the relationship between parents and guardians and school administrators. That's why we're here. At the end of the day, we all want the best for our children. So, and I know sometimes comments are made about what parents aren't doing, and I don't think it's an overall, but we do have to change the conversation in the way it's said. We have one comment right here, and then we'll take the parent out here.
But I piggyback on what the mama is saying, because at my school, Frederick Douglass High School, we had new administrators. Like the parents said, everybody's talking about their own personal experience, but I get her. When our students come in the morning, as soon as they get off the bus, our new administrator has told us, you greet the students with kindness. It's good morning, how you doing? Whether they grumbling or whatever, how was your weekend? How was your Friday? How was your day? So I get what she's saying, and she's right. When you have the IEP meetings, when you have everything, it starts with what they call a multi-team system. It starts with teachers having what they call data, or they call artifacts, looking at your children work to see what your students are doing, and then it goes from there to a team of persons. As she said, those meetings can be intimidating because you had a social worker, the counselor, you had a psychologist, you have everybody there. So in our role, and I know my role as a social worker, I tend to try to explain to my parents or let them know, okay, this is what this means, because as she said, everybody, just because they have a title, and as the gentleman said, just because you got a degree doesn't make you qualified to hold that role and position that you're in. So you can't articulate or you can't explain those type of things to people, to the parent. So I'm saying all that to say, you as parents, you're your child's biggest advocate. Just because the teacher or somebody in the school system say that your son or your daughter is doing something, let them show you evidence Let them show you things. Okay, what have you done? What steps have you taken before you decide to involve Ms. Brown Mack or Dr. Downs and say you're going to give a social worker? They're kids, because we work on a referral basis. So there are things that teachers and administrators must do before they even refer your children to us, but they jump a lot of those things. Some of them do, not all of them. So we're looked at as the adversary or defects, and I'm not a defect social worker. And he's not a defect social worker, but they see social work as somebody coming to take my children. So we're in a role already where we have to tell people what our role really is, just like with police officers. Police officers are the first person of defense that we're going to call, but us as parents and how we present police to our children is what put that image in their heads as to how they receive police officers and persons that's in authority. So as they said, it does all start at home, and I commend the mama because of the fact that I get everything she's saying. I've been doing this for 27, almost 28 years. Dr. Downs been doing it for just the same. So we're the ones that's in the trenches. We're the ones that's trying to be here when, like I said, this room should be filled with my co-workers and colleagues who, whether they knew about this or not, so I get everything you're saying. And like I said, having a 504, having an IEP is not a bad thing. Because if you look at Tom Cruise, Winston Churchill, you look at Michael Phelps, who has 29 gold medals from the Olympics, his mom put him on an IEP because he was busy in class, and she put him in swimming, and now he swims like a fish, and he can do anything in America that he want to do.
Yeah, and what we got to realize is we're all on the same team. At the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We want the best for our children. I know my son did the best in classes where he liked his teacher. If he didn't like his teacher, he didn't want to do the work. So it's all about the relationships with the teachers. So if you can encourage your teachers, hey, I know some days you got a bad day at home. We all human. We have bad days, but when we come into the classroom, when we communicate with each other, when we're outside of the classroom, have some empathy for what each of us is going through.
All right. Go ahead. I just want to ask about training, and this is more administrators, educators as well. Not that dive in a different direction regarding IEP and stuff, but I also want to talk about loss of family members, and I think that was a big problem that I have saw last year, and also the beginning of end of last year, end of this year, in regards to overall loss of family members, like children, like mother or father dying. And this
divorce is like
the resources that the school have once they know, or even as a teacher or educator, seeing a child decline in educational level potential that they was already high. What is the resources? What steps do the school system take to make sure they intervene to help assistance? We're not trying to tell you to raise the child, but if you see that the child behavior or educational level has changed, what steps as an educator, the teacher or counselor or someone can intervene to get assistance for that child?
I'll speak on that. Unfortunately, last year we had a number of our middle schoolers who lost a parent. So much so that our counseling team decided to start a new group for our students who have lost parents, and then they meet a couple of times a month to do check-ins. We also identify who is the next of kin who's going to be taking care of that child. We make sure that we have services that we offer to those family members. Additionally, we talk to our teachers. We bring them in and we have a meeting with them, and we explain what is going on. Keep your eye out on this child. Here's some things that you need to be looking for during class. We oftentimes give the kids a break card after we have identified a safe person for them to speak to throughout the school day. When they say, I need this break, let that child go and have that break and go speak to their mentor. So those are some of the things that we're doing at my middle school. Like I said, we just started doing that last year because last year, unfortunately, we had so many kids that lost parents. I just had one of my 7th graders who brother was in prison in Chicago and they just killed him. That hits home because I'm from Chicago, right? And I understand all of that life. And so it is important for us to have those services in place. And I make sure that I love on that young man every single time that he comes into that building. He is the first one that I look for, the first one that I hug, and I check in. But that's an expectation that I have for my teachers as well. I have a serious issue with any adult who mistreats children in my building. And that's how I'm gonna say I was gonna go back to you, Mom, because I advocate for parents like you. And we do offer training to our teachers where we see that there's a gap in their capacity to have a level of empathy and sympathy for our families and our children.
But it's like she said, we have a referral process. You also, like you said, you've noticed a child have death in the family. I have some students this past week that, okay, once they identify the student to me or an administrator or somebody, I try to contact the parent or the guardian. I try to talk to the child, see where they're at. Then we go from there. As they say, we have mental health providers. We have agencies like Family Ties, Chris 180. We have find out what type of insurance a family has. But also, the child and the family has to decide if they want to have therapy or counseling at that time, because sometimes the children are just not able to process it. So we start working with them. Like September coming up is called SEL month. Social emotional learning. They have 5 parts to social emotional learning. The first one starts the whole month of September, which is SEL learning. There are 5 components to that. If public school educators would truly follow that wheel and follow that model, the first thing is self-awareness. You teach children to find out, okay, where's your mindfulness? Where are you at this moment? You didn't teach children self-control. It teaches them every month there's a whole theme behind it. So there are processes and things in place that even though we have outside agencies, that if teachers would utilize the resources that they have, because the school district have those resources. It's just that, as she said, people are too busy trying to, instead of trying to teach the child and learn the child, teachers are coming to work every day with a heavy lift too. They're coming from home. They can't even be there to go to their own children activities. Their own children have problems. So everybody is carrying a big burden. But as you said, what do we do at the school? We work with those kids. We meet with the counselor. We go to teachers. I know I do. I'm going to speak for me. I send my emails. I follow up with students. I try to make sure that a teacher knows, as she said, you have that card to say this child need a break. Anytime you need to see Ms. Brown, man, I keep, I just had Operation Feed make a whole store at my school to bring in all type of snacks and foods that my children could eat and take home on Fridays in book bags, or to have microwavable things that I don't particularly like, but for the kids to eat during the day so that they can be hungry, because a child coming to school in the morning that's hungry, you're not going to be there to learn. This trauma is real. Like she said, there are kids living in hotels with 5 people in one room. One young man told me yesterday, I'm late this morning, Ms. Brown, Matt, because I know you said the school bus will pick me up, but I don't want the kids to see that we living in a hotel. I'm smelling like this weed this morning because that's what everybody at the house smoke. And like I said, it's nothing against parents or talking about what parents do or don't do, but everybody has to understand that our children are sometimes parenting their parents.
Yeah. I hate to stop you, but we're running up against time.
I
Councilman.
just want to make sure that we are educating people the difference between IEPs and mental health, because there's a lot of stigma around that.
Mm-hmm.
And the IEP is individual education plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that because my daughter was under an IEP, and what we do not do a good job about is making sure our kids know that is, an IEP is not anything bad, it's just catering to how you learn.
Right, exactly.
And it follows you all the way through college. And
yeah.
so we should be teaching our kids that this is how I learn, this is what I need to learn, and teaching them how to advocate for themselves. Because and mental health is something different. Just because you're under IEP doesn't mean you have mental health issues. It doesn't mean that you have behavior issues. It's just the way that you need to be taught, and it's the way that you need to learn. And once I think a lot of our kids get past that stigma, and they're taught how to advocate for themselves, because that's what it is. It's an individualized education plan.
Right.
And so I just think that when we talk about IEPs, we just kind of need to make sure it's a distinction, and we don't we don't relate it to mental health is real, and our kids do need mental health services and counseling services, but we just need to make sure that we are making that distinction of what an IEP is and what it's supposed to do, and also teach our kids to learn how to advocate for themselves
Yeah,
under their IEP.
exactly. I think we have one more comment, and then we got to wrap up. And while you're getting the mic to him, I would like to see, like I said, we're all going through things. Our children are going through things, and they're not going to always come to us when they're going through things. So if there are programs on a weekly basis where a child could check in with at least one teacher that they feel that comfortable talking to, it might help to release, or give them an opportunity to release whatever is going on with them, rather than having them wait till they blow up, until the issues are too heavy for them to carry. If there was once a week where they had one teacher, one person, somebody within the school system that they could go and say, hey, how you doing today? And they tell that trusted person, that safe person for them, what's on their mind. You know, it might help, I think it would definitely help a child. So, right.
All right, so a thing that I really wanted to address is a misdiagnosis, okay? Even when it comes to the school system and medical on both ends. I think about my brother when he was younger. Of course, I think in our era, they were saying all kids had ADHD. I don't think medical professionals were doing their due diligence to even confirm it. And the first thing they want to do is put your child on Ritalin, right? And I saw when my brother, from his behavior changed, me being the oldest, just really observing where he was zombified when he would do the medication. So it made him feel not himself, to a point where he's like, no, Mom, and he would go back and forth with my mother about, I don't want to take this. And so it's like, who's advocating for him when he is saying this, and she's just doing what she knows, because she's not knowledgeable enough to know if this is going to be helpful for her child or not, right? So then, of course, that's when the behavior starts. Then he gets labeled as a problem child. Then you get separated. My brother shared with us, he didn't even know how to read till he went to prison. So look how many hands that he was passed through, outside of just the parenting. The school, everyone failed him. And then it becomes a pattern where at the age of 13, he was in and out of prison. He's in prison to this day, you know? So I feel like there needs to be a better vetting process in the school system in the beginning, making it more culturally sound too, because we don't all grow up in the same environment. It needs to be based on your environmental concerns as well. These are things that we really got to deep dive. And I think these are things we have to kind of address in the beginning of school, because all kids are not going to just verbally tell you what's going on, but if we can do a better job, you know, as the professionals and even parents, putting those things out, making it known, but also we got to figure it out as far as the vetting and evaluations overall.
All right, thank you.
But I have to speak to what she's saying. Like you said, the difference between explaining about an IEP, and you're correct. As you say, it starts with that MTSS process. That's the new lingo they're using, that a multi-tier system of approach. So that's the first thing. And from that team, you have the teachers and everybody, and as I stated earlier, you have those artifacts. You have work that the child is doing, so you can decide. Then once the school psychologist tests the child, she's able to have the parent fill out paperwork, and the school and the teachers, and get information from doctors, and based on the test scores, it'll show whether that child has behavior things or if it's academic. So that way, when an IEP is put in place, some children IEP is strictly for behavior. Some is for academics. As she said, if it's academic, it's because of how a child processes the information. It means that somebody can do math without using a sheet of paper, to use the manipulatives, and another child might need to use that. So it's all in how you process, and you're right. I know for me, I try to explain to students that just because you have an IEP doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. You just process information different. So that's the first thing, is that when students have IEPs, there are two kinds. You can have a behavior one for behavior specifically. Then you can have one for academics. So in some children, they overlap. So it just depends. But as you said, there is a difference, and it doesn't necessarily have nothing to do with mental health. It's more of an academic side because the persons in the school are not doing the mental health part of that testing. They're strictly looking at academic components to see what's going on academically. You're still going to have to meet with a psychiatrist and a therapist and other persons through other agencies. Now, if a child is taking meds and all those type of things, they sometimes get together. They do have to get together with the school, but there's a team of people. So I appreciate you saying that because I can see the frustration even with the mom that left. That yeah, that there is a big difference.
We got one more comment because we got to wrap it up.
My comment is going to be so quick. Chance the Rapper talks about the same thing that we're talking about here. He had an IEP from 4th grade through high school. He has a new album out, and I'm just giving some promotion. The Black Star Line, which was a tribute to Marcus Garvey. But to the sister's point right here, there's a book that I want to recommend called Bad Therapy, Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up. And it talks about that same thing, how our kids are misdiagnosed, put on medication that is made for adults. They get into their system and it just turns them inside out. Not only black kids, but it's black kids that we're dealing with right now, but also white kids. So this is a book that I recommend to our principal at school to read, because we do SEL and have those communities where we really get a chance to know each other. And I tell my kids that we are building a community where we can talk to one another about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's what we need. Thank you so much. We're going to do a quick break, and then like 5 minutes, and then we're going to do our breakout sessions. Clippers and Cops are in here right now, well, in 5 minutes, and then we're going to take the youth back to the reception area, and let's see who the youth are going to be with. The gang involvement, so that's going to be FCDAO. So if the children, when you go back to the reception area, and then the adults can stay in here for the next session. Thank you.